What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we move ahead to 2011 and we discuss the God of Thunder, Thor, starring Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tom Hiddleston, Stellan Skarsgård, Idris Elba, Kat Dennings, Renee Russo, Anthony Hopkins, Josh Dallas, Jamie Alexander, Clark Gregg, and Jeremy Renner. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And as I said during the introduction, today we're going to take a trip to Asgard and discuss the God of Thunder, Thor. Now, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time right here, as I'm looking forward to diving into this one, as I feel like this film, much like Iron Man 2, brings a lot of pieces together to really help build toward tomorrow's film, The Avengers. Let's get right into it here, shall we? Our movie begins in the year 965 AD, as Odin, the king of Asgard, wages a war against the frost giants of Jotunheim and their leader, Laufey, as Laufey is trying to conquer the 9 realms, beginning with Midgard, or Earth. The Asgardian warriors defeat the frost giants in Tonsberg, Norway, and seize the source of their power, the Casket of Ancient Winters. We then flash forward to present day, where Odin's son, Thor, prepares to ascend to the throne of Asgard. But the ceremony is interrupted when the frost giants are secretly allowed in by none other than Thor's brother, Loki, attempting to retrieve the casket. Against Odin's orders, Thor travels to Jotunheim in order to confront Laufey. Thor on this journey is accompanied by Loki, his childhood friend, Sif, and the Warriors 3, Volstagg, Fandral, and Hogun. Now, battle ensues on Jotunheim until Odin intervenes to save the Asgardians and ends up destroying the fragile truce between the two races. Now, as punishment for Thor's arrogance, Odin strips his son of his godly power and exiles him to Earth as a mortal, along with his hammer, Mjolnir, which is now protected by an enchantment that only allows the worthy to wield it. Thor and Mjolnir end up landing in New Mexico, where astrophysicist Dr. Jane Foster, her assistant, Darcy Lewis, and Dr. Eric Selvig end up finding him. The New Mexico locals end up discovering Mjolnir, which SHIELD agent Phil Coulson soon commandeers before forcibly taking Foster's data about the wormhole that brought Thor to Earth. Thor learns of Mjolnir's location nearby and seeks to retrieve it from the facility that SHIELD has constructed, but he ends up finding himself unable to lift it, and as a result is captured. With Selvig's help, he is freed and resigns himself to his exile on Earth and begins to develop a romance with Jane Foster. Loki soon discovers that he is Laufey's biological son, and that he was adopted by Odin after the war ended. When Loki confronts Odin about it, Odin falls into a deep Odin sleep in order to recover his strength. He's basically in like a comatose state, almost as if he had a heart attack or something, but he just needs to regroup, so he enters this sleep. During this time when Odin is down, Loki usurps the throne in Odin's stead and offers Laufey the chance to kill Odin and retrieve the casket. Unhappy with the new rule of Loki, Sif and the Warriors 3 attempt to return Thor from exile, and they convince Heimdall, the keeper of the Bifrost, which allows Asgardians to travel between the worlds, to allow them to gain passage to Earth. Aware of their plan, Loki sends the Destroyer, a seemingly indestructible automaton, to pursue them and kill Thor. The warriors find Thor, but the Destroyer attacks and defeats them, which prompts Thor to take on the Destroyer by himself, without his powers. Thor gets struck by the Destroyer and is near death, but Thor's sacrifice proves him worthy to wield Mjolnir once again, as the hammer returns to him, restoring his powers and enabling him to defeat the Destroyer. With the Destroyer defeated, Thor kisses Jane goodbye and vows to return. Thor and his fellow Asgardians return to Asgard in order to confront Loki. Back on Asgard, Loki betrays and kills Laufey, revealing his true plan: to use Laufey's attempt on Odin's life as an excuse to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost Bridge, thus proving himself worthy to his adoptive father. Thor arrives and fights Loki before destroying the Bifrost Bridge in order to stop Loki's plan, which in turn strands him on Asgard, with no way to see Jane again. Odin awakens from his sleep and is able to prevent his sons from falling into the abyss created in the wake of the bridge's destruction. However, Loki allows himself to fall when Odin rejects his pleas for approval. Thor makes his amends with Odin and admits that he is not yet ready to be king. Meanwhile, on Earth, Jane and her team search for a way to open a portal to Asgard. And in our film's post-credits scene, we see Selvig taken to a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility where Nick Fury opens a briefcase and asks him to study a mysterious cube-shaped object, the Tesseract, which Fury says may hold untold power. We then see an invisible Loki reflecting in the mirror, prompting Selvig to agree to Fury's requests. Like I said at the beginning, this film, along with Iron Man 2, really start to kind of get things moving towards the Avengers. In Iron Man 2, we had Cap's shield, we had the introduction of Black Widow, we had Coulson being assigned to New Mexico, where we see him here. In this one, we get the introduction of Hawkeye. You know, we don't really hear him called Hawkeye yet, but we get our introduction to Clint Barton, and we bring in that other secondary character, much like we did with Black Widow. So now we have all the 6 Avengers poised and ready for their big movie tomorrow. You know, we've had our introductions to Tony Stark, Iron Man, to Steve Rogers, Captain America, to Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk, and to Thor. And then we've also been introduced to Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, and Clint Barton, Hawkeye, along with Nick Fury and Phil Coulson. All the main players for tomorrow's Avengers. The only person we haven't met yet is a character that we first meet in Avengers, and that's Maria Hill. She won't be seen until tomorrow's film. But this whole first phase really was instrumental in setting everything in motion, as it should be. Because for people like myself who aren't comic book readers, we don't know where these people come from. We don't know why we should care about them. And the only films we've discussed so far that weren't a part of Phase 1 were Captain Marvel and the 2003 Hulk. 2003 Hulk officially was not part of the MCU timeline. We discussed that. We discussed my reason why I felt it fit. Not going to go into that anymore. Captain Marvel didn't come till Phase 3, but in the greater timeline, it takes place in the 90s, so it has to fall in pre-Avengers. Plus, that's where the initiative got its name, was as her call sign in the Air Force. So it ended up working as a small little detail there. But back to Thor, I thought that this was a great setup, and I did not want to see Thor in the beginning. And it may sound corny, and some of you guys may think it's lame, but it's the truth. When I heard Thor was getting a picture, an origin story, I was like, I don't need an origin story. I know about Thor. Thor is a mechanic in New York City. And a lot of you guys are like, what? What are you talking about? I'm talking about this. Adventures in Babysitting. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but in the film, there's a little girl named Sarah who just adores Thor. You can kind of see her hanging onto the neck with her little Thor helmet on. They end up at a mechanic in New York City to get the main character's car back, and the little girl swears that the mechanic is Thor. He's even wielding a sledgehammer akin to Mjolnir. Played by Vincent D'Onofrio in a very early role of his, which is kind of ironic when you figure that now he's the kingpin over on Daredevil. But that, to me, was always Thor's origin. I didn't need to sit through a 2-hour movie about it. Of course, it's not Thor's origin. It's really kind of silly when you listen to it now. But I'm being real with you guys. That's what I thought. So Thor was like the last Phase 1 movie that I saw. But I saw it, and I loved it. I love Jamie Alexander's Lady Sif. I think that she's badass and gorgeous and adorable all at the same time. Natalie Portman, I loved her as Jane Foster. Kat Dennings, I loved her. Yes, I know I'm naming the females right now, but Tom Hiddleston, I thought did an amazing job as Loki. And if you really watch his progression during the film, you see him kind of start as this shaky, almost timid character who slowly gets his confidence to do what he needs to do to execute his plan. Whereas the flip side, you start with Thor, who's very arrogant and very conceited and very almost heelish. And when he loses his abilities and he loses Mjolnir and he loses his powers, you very much start to see him fall and become humbled. Right there as Loki is starting to ascend with his confidence. I just love the way that the character was written. Before you ask, no, I have not seen any of the Loki series on Disney Plus yet. I'm going to be binging it once it's over. Josh Dallas, another one I want to point out. I became a big fan of Josh Dallas through Once Upon a Time, as he was Charming, Prince Charming on there to, what is her name? Jennifer Goodwin. As he was Charming to Jennifer Goodwin's Snow White on Once Upon a Time. So to see him in this, I thought it was kind of cool seeing him as Fandral. So much so that he even made a Asgard joke in one of the seasons of Once Upon a Time. Pay attention for it. I want to say it was season 3. Don't quote me on that, but he did make an Asgard joke. It was very funny knowing that he came from Thor. So if you're Once Upon a Time fans, go back and rewatch the series and catch that joke. When it comes to my rating of Thor, I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5. There's a couple of points where I feel like it moves just a little too slow. But other than that, I really, really, really enjoy this film. I thought the action was great. The storytelling was great. The actors, hell, an all-star cast. I'm sure you noticed, it's probably the longest credits read that I've done thus far before we get to an Avengers film with all that talent in this film. But I highly recommend Thor out there. Even though I'm only giving it 3.5 stars, Thor is probably my least favorite Avenger, which is the only reason why it gets that rating for me. Make sure you guys get out there on social media, though. Get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios. Hashtag Renegades Reviews. Hashtag Renegade Returns. And, of course, the ever-popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys get out there. Do what that commercial just told you. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the official merchandise of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood. Get you your Renegade JJ Williams shirt, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, Statboy Sports Bar, hashtag StatBoyApproved, hashtag Shenanigans. Get you your official merchandise of the Jeff Meacham Network, 3 different designs of the Jeff Meacham Network logo for you to choose from, along with Talk Wrestling, Meachamania, and more. Hey, it's summertime. It's triple digits out here where I am. I don't know about you guys, but it's summer, and that means 3 things to me: beach bonfires, pool parties, barbecue. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network. Score you a Renegade JJ Williams tank top or a Meachamania tank top. The perfect accessory for those summer days and those even hotter summer nights. Get out there, show your love and support. While you're showing your love and support, do what that ticker tells you to do. Do you enjoy my content? Do you appreciate the fact that I bring you guys daily videos here on the Casa D18 Studios channel? Do you appreciate the fact that I'm out here in triple digit heat in my garage studio to bring you daily videos? If you do, go to the PayPal link as it scrolls across the bottom of the screen there. Make a small donation for me. Keep in mind, guys, I'm not monetized, so the only way I can make a few bucks is if you guys out there go to that PayPal link right there and show me a little love and support. You don't want to send money? That's cool. Go to that link tree, click on the link for my Amazon movie wish list, send me a movie. When it arrives and I open it live on Renegade Recap, I'll give you guys a shout out. And then when I work it in to one of my theme months and I actually watch it and review it, I'll give you guys another shout out. And I'll show you guys the same amount of love that you guys show me. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. When we finally get to 2012, we finally get to the Avengers, and we finally get to the Battle of New York, starring Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Tom Hiddleston, Clark Gregg, Kobe Smulders, Stellan Skarsgård, Samuel L. Jackson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Paul Bettany, and Damien Poitier. You're not going to want to miss out tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, when we get to the very first team-up film, The Avengers. To all my loyal fans and viewers out there joining me today for the premiere, leaving your comments over here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. All my loyal fans that tune in a little bit later in the day, watching on demand, leaving your thoughts and comments down here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of my loyal viewers out there. Thank you for tuning in, for watching, and I will see you guys next time.